Shout out to Baby Smack. What up, YouTube? I got another profile for you today, y'all. This time, it's coming out of the Nickerson Gardens in Watts, California.
Yeah, make video. You know, this is for sure.
Yeah, make video.
Open your soul, represent your ghetto, baby.
Yeah, make video.
You know, this is for sure. Yeah, make video. Open your soul, represent your ghetto. Hold up. For the dime moves and the lokes, for the 6-4s on spokes, for the OGs that did a dime, came back around on parole.
On this day, we take a moment to profile Rhea Boyce, a legendary figure from Watts, Nickerson Gardens. Born on November 30th, 1954 in San Francisco, California, Rhea Anthony Boyce came into the world with a legacy already beginning to take shape. His mother, Philomene Love, was born in Hammond, Louisiana in 1935 and moved to San Francisco in 1952, where she graduated from Balboa High School a year later in 1953. Rhea's father, Henry Boyce, born in 1921 in Shelbyville, Tennessee, also made his way to San Francisco in the early 1950s, where Rhea's older brother was born in 1953. The Boyce family would later relocate in the Nickerson Garden housing projects, where Rhea's story as a street figure began. Here, he would make a name for himself as a fighter, with a reputation that spread quickly through the streets of Watts. In the late 1960s, Rhea co-founded the Green Jackets in Watts before transitioning to the Bounty Hunters in 1972.
Actually, the Green Jackets was formed with me, Tyrone Tate, Alfred Trotter, which is my uncle, and Rhea Boyce.
Well, let me tell you about my brother Rhea. Rhea, R-H-E-A, that's how you really spell his name. Everybody think it's R-A-Y, but it's not. And I'm gonna tell you something about Rhea, Forrest, AKA Rhea Boyce. The Jordan Downs, the Pygmies, them guys loved him like a brother. They never even really call him Rhea, they call him Rhea. That was his name, for his beloved name for the Jordan Down Green Jackets.
Okay, you knew Rhea Boyce. What did you call him?
Rhea, Lil Rhea.
You gave him that name?
I gave him that name. I know all 6 of his boys, and I also know his wife, Helen.
And they greeted him in a loving way. And he was right there with Alfred at the top of the list, 2 generals.
Me, Rhea Boyce, Chavi, all of us, everybody wanted to see us fight. You know what I mean? Because we was all good. Everybody wanted to see us fight, but we never fought.
Knockout artists, both of them. And he was a very humble individual. He didn't believe in jumping on people with a gang of people. He believed in head-up fights. He liked to be entertained to see head-up fights, to see who can throw them dogs for real.
Okay, now Rhea Boyce, was he in the project?
He was in Nickerson's.
And you guys were in Jordan Down?
We was neutral at that time, before the Crips even came in.
Now, how did that work?
And Anthony Baylocks of the Imperial Courts.
Okay, so that's 3 different projects.
That's 3 different projects.
So was that one gang, or did each project had its own little clique?
No, it was one. We all wore Green Jackets, because I issued them out.
The generals from 4 different projects throughout Watts came together to help form one group, the Green Jackets. What about Hacienda?
Hacienda was also a Green Jackets, because they always have been with the Nickersons. So they were Green Jackets as well, which was Rodney Bruce, Wendy Bruce as well.
His rise on the street was unmatched, and though his name often comes up in interviews, his full story has rarely been told.
In his mind, he always felt that any old punk could shoot a gun. Anybody can do that, but what about throwing them dogs? You know what I'm saying? That's where he come up off of. Even though I can actually say he's hitting harder than everybody that I knew in the projects and everybody that I seen. So maybe he felt that that was the best thing for him, dealing with the fist and not the gun, because he was at the top of his game with his hands.
Okay, so give me the best 5 fighters that you know of in Watts.
Well, I can just only name the ones that I've been around, but the ones before me now, it's only two people ringing the bell, and that's John Newman and Bobby Newman, them OGs. Now, Tavi, Ray Boyce, Boo Boo, they all from the Nickersons. And got Granddad. It's just so many of them that can fight. I don't really know who to name, but the one that everybody will be comfortable with is John Newman and Bobby Newman because they was professional boxers.
Described as tall, muscular, and athletic, Ray was known for his quickness and strength, even being compared to a bull. His skills didn't end with his physical stature. He was known for performing backflips and tumbling with the kind of precision that could only come from years of practice. Some say Ray was the heir apparent to Raymond Washington, while others claim that Ray and Raymond would have made for the greatest matchup between a Crip and Blood on the streets of LA.
Would you say Ray Boyce was the heir apparent to Raymond Washington?
Well, I would say this. Ray and Raymond Washington, that's kind of interesting because they both got that Ray in it. And I have a book that I'm reading right now. I just got about a week about Raymond Washington. I like to get it from the horse's mouth, and hopefully the book is truthful about the Crips being founded in '69, and that Raymond was real good with his hands, and he didn't like guns neither. But I'm going to tell you something about that. You know, a lot of guys that is good with their hands, they really kind of fear guns because they don't need a gun and they don't even think about a gun because these are their guns.
There are those who refer to Ray as a founding member of the Bounty Hunters, while others say he held a leadership role, barking out orders with a commanding presence. The late A.C. Moses mentioned Ray in his book, The Starting Lineup, uncensoring the respect he commanded. In 1972, things began to change in Watts. Crips started springing up, and the Bounty Hunters took control of the Nickerson Gardens.
Take me back to the early 70s before there was Crips in the JDs.
Oh, before there was Crips in the JDs, you know, I can actually say that it was so much love between the Jordan Down and Nickerson Gardens to the point to where they used to come over to our gym where we had skating every Wednesday. And it was so beautiful because the love was real. I see the Jordan Down Green Jackets and the Nickerson Garden Green Jackets kicking it every Wednesday like clockwork. And Ray was right there with them, and Alfred was right there with them, and it seemed like every time they was at peace and everything. I never seen no chaos jump off, not one time.
The four projects that previously operated under the Green Jackets would soon be at odds. Two would become Bloods, and two would become Crips.
So in 1972, I find myself in Las Padrinas Juvenile Hall. So in 1972, I find myself there, me, Buster Jones, Boone, founder of the Pico Crips, and Buster Jones, one of the founders or members of the Castle Crips, and me, Magnificent Seven. So that was our car. So we hung together. So Ray Boyce came through there, and he was in the same unit that I was in. When I got sent back down from Eastlake to this unit, and Ray Boyce told me to step aside. Remember, they were letting us out. They were letting us out to the yard, or we were going on a movement. I remember this as clear as day. Ray Boyce looked at me because I was right up on him, like he was standing here, I was standing there, and he said, "Hey," hey, step back. And so I stepped back, and he clocked this dude.
Ray Boyce was pure power.
He hit this dude so hard, it sounded like Ken Norton hitting a body bag in the 78th Street Hoover Boxing Gym. It sounded like he hit the dude with a baseball bat. That's how hard Ken Norton would hit a bag. And Ray Boyce, he had that kind of power too. So he knocked the dude out before he hit the ground. He was already out. So all I heard was whistles. So they took him to the hole. So Rhea Boyce was in the hole. So a month or two went by. We think we enter in 73 now, early 73. Yeah, it was like, I believe early 73. So now I'm on my way to camp. I didn't got my last free ride, so it's my day to go to camp. So they had this bus. It was called the Gray Goose. We called it. So the Gray Goose pulled up in the back of the units. The back of the units had a street, that separated them. And the buses would pull up back there. They didn't want to pull up in the front, so they put up. So they would load the bus with the wards. I was a ward. They called us wards, not inmates. So being a ward, it was my turn to go, to camp. So I get on the bus. Now, the cool thing is, you get on this bus without handcuffs, but the bus is caged in. The only part that's caged away from us is the driver. So once I get on the bus, I can sit anywhere I want. So I sit like in the third row. So this bus looks like a modified one of those yellow school buses, but it was gray. So I sit at, I want a window seat. So I move over by the window. So we pull up to another unit. So I'm on the bus. Now the bus is moving closer to the hole. So now we finally get to the hole. Now they bringing the dudes out of the hole who got in infractions where they couldn't live in a unit. So here come Rhea Boyce getting on the bus. So he sits across from me. The only thing separating us is an aisle. So when Ray gets on the bus, he starts, like looking around. So now some more brothers come out of the hole that I guess they made friends with or they knew each other, but I didn't know too many of them. So now the bus is pretty packed. Now the big gate opens up and now the bus drives out and we on our way to East Lake Juvenile Hall because the bus isn't quite full yet. So we're gonna leave Downey, and now we're headed to East Lake Juvenile Hall, which is in East LA, over by Lincoln Park. For those of you who are familiar, in the back over there by Dogtown. They bring a couple guys out of there that was in R&R already ready to go because they know they got a chain. So everything's going fast now. So those guys get on the bus. Now we got a full house. So everybody's like, hey, where you going? Hey, Cutes, what's up? Hey, Ray, what's up? So everybody know different people on the bus. You hear everybody's names, being called. And then I said, man, I'm going to Camp Glen. I'm going to Camp Rocky. So, you guys, that's San Dimas Mountains. So I'm going there. So that's more of a senior camp. Camp Page is a kid camp. Camp Alpha Ball is more of a older teenager camp, like that. So I'm going to more of an older camp. It's a fire camp. So I notice Ray, he keeps looking up under the seat. He keeps digging around. He keeps looking. Then now the bus, it pulls out and we going back around and we get in front of, we get back on that street where the hospital is. Now we in the back. That's the girl side of East Lake Junior Hall. So Ray calls over to me and he says, hey, man, look up under your seat. So I look at him. He said, yeah, look up under your seat. So I feel up under my seat and I feel it. So I can feel it. I can feel tape. I can feel it. And so I pull it out and it's a long ass screwdriver, like 18. The real long, real fat with a nice a plastic handle. And I'm like, damn. So Ray he said, give it to me. Now, this is before a blood alliance. It was just Crips and anti-Crip gangs. So the animosities with the gangs was there, but then it wasn't there unless you was fighting that gang that was really in your neighborhood. So the gangs that were in my neighborhood that were anti-Crip gangs was the Van Ness Boys, was the Chain Gang, and was the Brims. So those were the immediate gangs that I grew up around fighting against. So Rhea Boyce and them, the immediate Crip gangs that was over there by them, before there was even Grape Street, there were Eastside Crips. So, and since the bounty hunters, originated in the 1970s, so I didn't consider the bounty hunters my enemy at this time, but I knew that there was a gang called the Bounty Hunters. I knew that much for sure from going to juvenile hall and whatnot. So Ray said, "Give it to me," and I look over at him and I give it to him. I hand him the long ass screwdriver. I just give it to him. He takes the screwdriver and runs to the back of the bus. Now keep in mind, we caged in there. The bus driver's driving the bus. You got all of us in the back for whatever crimes we had. They were serious enough to send us to camp. Nobody on this bus was going to the youth authority. So I give Ray the screwdriver. He runs to the back of the bus. The bus now is between General Hospital and the girls' side of juvenile hall. We're going up the vein, going the opposite way. He puts the screwdriver in the door of the back of the bus and he kicks it. Sounds like a cannon went off. Boom! And the door flies open. All of the kids just start jumping off of the bus, different races. They just start unloading, running down the street full speed. Now, keep in mind, it's late evening by now. It's like starting the sun already went down, basically. It's at that time. And man, everybody's just running. I don't get off the bus. I want to go get this camp shit out of the way. I had already been on probation. I had already had to go check in with my probation officer. He always come over my house, looking at my stuff, going down there with my mom to talk about how am I doing. So I want to get it. I want to get all of this behind me. And it ain't but 6 months. That seems like a long time when you're a kid. So random kicked the door open. One of the dudes looked back. I would either roll another, say, "You coming? You coming? Y'all coming?" And believe it or not, when we got to camp later that night, it was only like 3 or 4 guys that went to camp. Out of that whole circuit that we were supposed to go through, there was only 3 guys that actually went to camp that night, and it was a bus full of wards. So that was my experience with Ray, and I believe from that day on, he never went to camp again in his life, because from that escape, whatever trouble he got in when he was out on the run, they sent him straight to YTS.
Hickory Street. What was that? Was it Crips on Hickory?
Yes, it was Baby Crips, and Wayne Day, and Mac Thomas, all them. They was the first Crips, and from but the Crip that I know that I think that started everything, that was Raymond Washington.
Right.
Yeah, because he was back in '68, and Raymond Washington was really the one that really started the Crips. But that was from that end to Hickory and the Grandies out in Compton.
Did Raymond hang out in Washington?
Who?
Raymond Washington.
Oh yeah.
Where did he hang out at?
Come up here to the park, up to the over to out in Compton, and down on Hickory where Wayne Day and them live, and straight out in Compton in the Grandies.
Bounty Hunters came in because Rhea Boyce, Tavi, OT, my homegirl Sharon, Terry Montague's niece, Freddie Clark's cousin, stayed over the Nicholson Gardens. When we go pick up Sharon, we're going out partying. We'll sit there and be in the parking lot. Be about 5, 6, 7, 10 carloads of Brims sitting out there. So the Bounty Hunters and Brims were out there intermingling with each other, and we became friends.
I and Rhea Boyce, along with Lorenzo, Lil Vince, you know what I'm saying, came to terms, you know what I'm saying, that that's what we were going to do. Stop saying cuz.
This 1974 photo symbolizes the anti-Crip gangs coming together. Nowhere on this photo, taken outside the jungles, says blood, nor does the article mention the Bloods. In AC's book, he calls Rhea Boyce the undisputed leader of the bounty hunters. He was the most feared by the mass majority of Crips when they were locked up together. He goes on to explain Rhea Boyce was fearlessly stubborn. His massive physique had attributed to him being looked upon as a potential leader of a growing opposition to the Crips. Ray's life, however, came to a tragic end on September 10th, 1980. That evening, Ray and his friend Joe Cooper were sitting outside with a group of friends in the Nickerson Gardens when a green Chevy Malibu pulled up with the lights off. As the car made its way around the corner, a shotgun came over the roof and 2 pistols aimed out the window. In seconds, Joe was struck and killed by a bullet to his left side. When the LAPD arrived, 3 people were down, and the rest of the group was left in stunned silence. Most of those present weren't even gang members. They were just people out talking and passing time. Despite their attempts to escape, Ray later died from a shotgun blast to the face at Killer King Hospital.
He always believed that anybody that go get a gun is not really solid. You know, I mean, I hate to say the word, but he probably say a punk. But me, myself, I just say not solid. And he was the type of brother where he was very humble. Matter of fact, he's the type of guy, instead of bullying you in front of everybody because of what you did or how you did something against him, he'll take you privately. Somewhere like where I'm at right now, privately, around the projects where no one's standing at, just you and him. He probably won't knock you out. He probably just pop you across your head. But if you big enough and old enough, he will knock you out now. Don't get it twisted, because that's what he's about. But somebody probably doesn't, you know, somebody that he feel that is very weak, he probably just, you know, kick him in the behind and tell him to get on.
That night and throughout the following day, Ray's homeboys gathered in the place where he was taken away from him. A true legend, Rhea Boyce was loved and respected, and his loss was felt deeply by all who knew him. May Rhea Boyce rest in peace. That's going to do it for today's episode of KMAC Video Profiles. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't be afraid to leave a comment.